Okay, I'm Tom Statura. Diego will be coming in a minute. I'm going to run a lot of the presentation. He's going to jump in wherever I go astray. But Diego and I are the co-chairs for the TAC, which is the Technical Advisory Council. So I wanted to start with a little bit of, what's our charter? And this is actually what we covered last year. So this is literally unchanged from last year, just a reminder of what the TAC does. So I won't read the OFA charter here, but the TAC charter here is really to investigate different trends that are going on, review the needs of the end users, and I think we heard a lot about that in this workshop, which is great, and also maintain a lot of the close relationships with our supporting standards bodies like the IBTA. So I think the short version of this, there's a lot of pretty words here, but I think the idea is they look to the TAC, the OFA looks to the TAC, our group, to actually think outside of the box and figure out what things we need to be working on that are coming down the pipe, okay? Especially if there's going to be changes required that we want to be in front of instead of being reactive to. This is also a slide from last year that I thought I'd just throw up, to give you an idea of we really do see a symbiotic relationship between the IBTA and the OFA TAC. There's this middle ground that's really important where we need to work together. But at the end of the day, what we need to do is focus on the application level, and you'll hear more about that from Paul later today. While the wire protocol and the standards is where we really need the standards bodies like the IBTA to deliver, and where we need to work is in the middle to make sure we optimize this relationship. So I think pretty obvious. So let me tell you a little bit about what we did from calendar year 1 year ago. So we took some pretty good feedback that we had from the workshop last year and tried to figure out what we need to work on. And we basically have 3 different things that we can give an update on from our report card. So the first one is we did a technology, and I'll dig into each one of these, but we were asked to do a technology review of GASPI, which is a PGAS API. This was actually covered briefly in the PGAS panel that was on the agenda Monday. I'll go into that in a minute. The second one that we did was, I think, is kind of a big one that got us in some difficult, nebulous, cloudy space, but I think we've got some good direction. You'll see more of that today as well, is embarking on the investigation of OFA relevance. So what we really started to do there is look at all these different ULPs, and you saw some of the diagrams from Paul that I'll pull up again, that really say, okay, if this is what's important to the end users, how do we increase the relevance of OFA connected to that? I'll talk about that in a second. And the last one is we want to take a couple really key focus areas. We instead of being this clearinghouse for all kinds of what-if discussions, we wanted to add some focus and say we got to go work on some specific things. And we chose the 2 primary markets, cloud and HPC, and I actually have those reversed. You'll see later. But on the cloud one, we wanted to take a hard look at OpenStack. So there was one talk about that today, but we wanted to say, what does OpenStack and OFED mean together? Do those 2 words make sense together? Do they not? And if so, how do we move forward? So we'll show some of the work that we have there. But I think this is a learning curve that we're embarking upon. The other one is HPC. So we've heard some comments about verbs being too heavyweight. We need to really understand that. I mean, verbs is not going anywhere. So we need to make sure we take those comments and figure out what needs to be done. So we wanted to get some real end user feedback directly on this comment and figure out how to go forward with it. So I'll dig into each one of these, and Diego, just jump in anytime you want. Okay, so on the GASPI one. So first of all, let me do a little bit of explanation of what this is. So it's a PGAS API, and you can see the links when the slides will be posted. It's basically an open source version of Fraunhofer's GPI PGAS API. So Fraunhofer came to us and said, we'd like to host this on the OFA site. So we had a lot of discussions understanding what this is. Does it have relevance? And one thing that I want to call out is we got into some interesting discussions because we really haven't been faced with this in recent history. So we said, okay, well, the one thing that's clear, we can't favor one implementation over another. There's a lot of different PGAS varieties out there, and the one thing we as OFA can't do is say, this is the right one. Our job is to make sure we are agnostic and make sure we enable as much as we can. But we really stumbled into something that was interesting here and said, okay, there's an opportunity here that's a win-win for us that we should take seriously. And so what we really found out is that, first of all, I think we know this. We had enough energy to have a panel on this, that PGAS is an evolving use case for OFA that we need to take serious. So it benefits us to get involved, and so this is why the TAC was asked to scope it. But I think that what we really discovered out of this is there's a real opportunity for us to host this UOP source. It was kind of foreign to us when it came in, and we said, should we do this? Does it make sense? Are we creating favoritism? Are we creating burden that we shouldn't have? But I think one of the things we really recognized out of this is the opportunity to actually bring two pieces of the puzzle for the end user closer together. And so we wanted to make sure that we walked away with, hey, there's something here, and it spurred off this number 2 topic I'll talk about in a second. But there's really an opportunity for us as the OFA to look at the full end user experience if we actually have all the pieces of the puzzle on the table. So we are seriously considering this. I don't know if a decision was actually made, and Jim just walked in the room talking about the GASPI code. So I don't know if we made a decision to host that on the OFA site. He's nodding his head yes. Independent of the OFED stack. So yeah, it's not part of the OFED package. It's hosting the ULP on the OFA site. That's the right way to say it. So, but I think that opened our eyes to, maybe we should be doing more of this is kind of the highlight. Again, getting closer to the ULPs, closer to the applications. I think that's consistent with where Paul started off the discussion Monday morning. So in that vein, we really took that to heart and said, okay, what can we, the TAC, do to increase our value and our relevance from an OFA perspective? What things should we be doing? We looked at, we want to make sure we're focused on a better end user experience. Of course, we want more membership to get broader proliferation of the good work that's been done. And how do we increase the OFED use, for the same reason? So again, this GASPI experience really clued us into that, we need to take a harder look at all these UOPs and make sure we are tighter aligned to where all that direction is going. So I'm stealing now slides that Paul Gruen actually did, and we did this as part of a TAC exercise. You saw some of it Monday, and I think it's a good refresher. But he basically started pulling apart the pieces here and say, okay, his message was, let's focus on the applications. Let's really start to think like the people that are going to use this and make sure we're optimizing it from that perspective. And the net that we walked away with is, these different ideas or classes that Paul came up with of, the legacy APIs, the data analysis, data storage, and data access. So you guys all seen the very colorful OFA stack chart, that Rupert, I think you maintain it now, but this is slicing it a different way and really focusing on what's important from the application level. So I won't go into detail here, although I want the big takeaway I want you to get is we're taking a hard look at this and we're looking at it from the application down, and we're trying to make sure we understand how this works and figure out how we can build more relevance for the application by looking at it from the top level down. And Paul, I don't know if he walked in the room, if there's anything he wanted to add. I don't see him. Okay, the third one is, like I said, we tried to get laser focused on two different markets, HPC and cloud. So on the HPC and exascale, we actually invited an expert, Nathan, I don't remember Nathan's last name, from Los Alamos. Yelm. Say it one more time.
Yelm, H-J-E-L-M.
Yelm, okay, Nathan Yelm. So thanks to Susan, she helped arrange that, and you'll see another thanks to Susan down here on 3B. But for the cloud, we actually got some experts who understand OpenStack and OFED, and trust me, that's hard to find the two people that know those two words, Mirantis, to come in and talk to us in the TAC as well. And so I'll walk through each of these, but these are some, a good example of the things we're trying to do to increase our knowledge, increase our breadth, and also figure out if there is better opportunities for us as the OFA. So first one is the heavyweight verbs. This is a real summary of it, and I think, I'll touch this lightly, and I'm probably not the technical expert to be able to answer if there are questions that come up on this, but I want you to know that, we wanted to get some very direct end user feedback of where the problems are. If we don't know what they are, we can't address them. And I'll go back to what I said before. Verbs is here to stay. We got to make sure we're doing what we can to make it the best experience. And a lot of the presentations that you saw mostly on Monday, were actually geared out of this conversation. So it was no accident that a lot of these bullets and these data points that we got turned into agenda topics at the workshop. But to give you an idea, we walked away with 6 pretty clear, statements from an end user of what kind of things we need to work on. So number 1, RDMA CM doesn't scale. I'm trying to remember, did we actually have I think we did have a topic on that one. Second one, RC mode runs out of Q-pair resources. We certainly heard that. There was the dynamic connection topic that was on the list. Verbs interfaces don't map well to MPI semantics. We saw that in one of the topics earlier for PSM. Verbs is heavyweight, a lot of coding. We didn't, there were lots of things around memory registration. That was one example. There was also, some other presentations that called out the different coding number of lines, for the different implementations as well. So this one was hit in a lot of different ways. The 5th one, lack of standardization between hardware implementations. I think there was I heard it clear in this workshop, a clear call out of, hey, we've got different things going on. How do we get to a standard vendor agnostic interface / API? And the last one is no well-known ports. I don't know that this one came up, but this was a 6th one that was called out by Nathan. End user desire to open specific ports, but the Q pairs number is random. So how do you do that? So again, I wasn't going to go into a lot of detail here, but I wanted to give some real concrete examples and map those to some of the discussions we had, and walk away with the idea that in the TAC we're trying to hear this feedback and trying to figure out how to respond to it and move forward. And the cloud one is an interesting one as well, again, because I think this is a new topic for a lot of this audience. But we had David and Jason from Mirantis come in and talk to us about OpenStack and what OFED and RDMA mean in that context. And there were some real interesting things. So first of all, there was a big education on OpenStack for us. And if you don't know what it is, I know there was a topic on it, but as a refresher, it's an open source cloud OS that defines the APIs to control the compute, the storage, and the networking. In fact, they even have special names for each one of those blocks. Predominantly predominantly it is the case. The networking today is TCP/IP, and the storage is either local SCSI or it's network TCP/IP. So and we've heard a lot of conversations about TCP and some of the challenges there over the last couple days. But again, summarizing the discussion here, we got some really, after getting through all kind of the alphabet soup and definitions and understanding what this is, we got some real direct guidance from them about things that we need to be working on. And we're going to go take a hard look at this and figure out what the next steps are. But the ones that as experts here, they gave us some really crisp feedback of go work on the image migration area of OpenStack first, which is the VM migration capability that was talked about in some of the other talks. In OpenStack, this is codenamed Lance. The second one is iSCSI. You saw that there's a storage TCP/IP. That's iSCSI. Getting RDMA as the baseline semantics in there. So there's a case that can take advantage of RDMA, and you don't have to change any of the protocols. It's changing the underlying mechanism to take advantage of RDMA and get better performance. And that's in the Cinder block. Next one is object storage. So not block storage, but now object storage. What can we do with RDMA there? I think there's more research has to be applied, and we need some understanding. But this is Swift. And then the last one is SRIOV. Apparently in OpenStack, there's not a lot of SRIOV enabling happening today, and that's an obvious alignment to everything that we're doing with RDMA. In that, in your virtualized context, you want to bypass the kernel. SRIOV does that. So how do we make sure we extend RDMA capabilities that we know and love into an OpenStack environment? So anyway, I think those are the big things that we learned. I wanted to just give a quick high-level snapshot of the areas the TAC has been working on. Where we're going to go from here is continue a lot of the work that we did. So you'll see, we want to finish this ULP work. Work to output a strategy and an updated diagram. Rupert consistently reminds me that we got to figure out how to converge that with our existing ULP diagram, and we need to figure out a game plan there. The HPC in the cloud, I think it's, like I said, you saw, for the HPC one, you saw a lot of the workshop topics, so I think we need to digest what we learned out of this go-around and then figure out what we do different, and we'll address that in the TAC. And the cloud is the other one. I think we've got a lot more learning to do here, to be quite frank. But I think we're off to a good start, and we need to dig in a little bit better and figure out what other things we need to do. So I think that's all I had. I don't know if you had anything else to add, Diego. The feedback that I would like, open it up to the groups is, does it look like we're working on the right things? Anything else you think we should be doing? Other technology to explore, other experts to engage, and by the way, I think that's an important one. I think we need to talk to end user experts out there to really understand a lot of these things, and you can see that's what we're trying to do. And also any other desired outcomes or output out of the TAC. I know one's coming for me. I just got a preview. Diego and I just got a preview of what Paul's going to say, and he has a big AR for us coming, but other than that. Go ahead.
You mentioned SRIOV. Have you done? Sorry. So you had mentioned that SRIOV was something you were looking into. Have you made any progress on that, or have you contacted? I guess there's a group called Quantum on OpenStack. I think Mellanox is part of that with their SRIOV. Had you looked into that yet?
Yeah. So in this context, we really just got from Marantis that this is an area that needs some attention, and the way we got it is. I'm trying to remember the analogy that they used, but they basically said OpenStack is so new that I'll make up my own analogy. It's if understanding OpenStack as a 100 level course, adding RDMA to it is like a 500 level course, right? We've got a lot of work to do to get the world moving on OpenStack to begin with before we could actually do some of the optimizations that we know how to do. And SROV was one of the ones that they characterized there. So there is good work that some of our members have done in that regard, more outside of the OpenStack context, and I think we need to apply those learnings into that space. But nothing specific or concrete has been added to the plate at this point, more just exploratory.
Thank you.
I think, Dad, okay. Any other questions?
No more suggestions. Everybody is totally satisfied with Open Fabric software. Yay!
Here's one. That's a good way to get them to talk.
So it's good to see all of the feedback from Nathan I agree with on the HPC. I will say there is a community of us who feel a lot of pain trying to do HPC on top of OFED. We are more than happy to share what that pain is. If you guys ever need any more advice, feel free to contact us. Susan can easily give you our contact information. But there's a group of us out there that have plenty of pain points. We've got the slides. We've done the talks. But what we really need is to see some change, right? That we've given the talks. I mean, there are OpenMPI members who have been giving what's wrong with OFED talks for 6 years now, and at some point we really need to see change before the situation, before we can start making progress. That we need to see some the OFED community think that this is important. And, the easiest one's memory registration, right? There's no excuse that memory registration is still as bad as it is. But, when you get there, we are more than willing to help give advice, and we've thought about what the issues are for a very long time.
Okay, good. I appreciate that, and we'll definitely take you up on that. Any other questions? Here's one. Oh, another one first.
So I heard that there was a discussion at yesterday's EWG meeting. I'm sorry I didn't make it. It was about supporting, considering supporting Ubuntu. So I would just like to offer a hand here. If Ubuntu is tightly integrated with OpenStack, and if it's the plan, it's on your roadmap to support Ubuntu, then please contact me. I would love to see if anything I can help with.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, and I think again, the more people in the community that know how to spell OFED and OpenStack, the better. So we need to take you up on that opportunity to get smarter. Thank you. There was one up here. Rupert.
Yeah, after Paul's presentation, I'd like to address some of the stuff related to streaming interfaces, providing streaming interfaces in OFED for isochronous flow of information across the fabric, and then something to do with multicast routing as well, support for more multicast capabilities and faster multicast. But I'll talk about that later. Thanks.
Okay, great. Hey, Jim, could you capture those? Okay, any other questions? Great, thank you very much.